Hi everyone! Today I want to show you a new stamp set that starts out on November 2nd, which is tomorrow, and it's a fun new stamp set that's going to be in the spring mini catalog, which comes out in January, and we're getting an early release. And with that early release, they're also releasing limited time products that kind of coordinate with it, that are not going to be in the mini, so they're kind of while supplies last. So I want to show you the stamp set. This will be available in the mini, and it's really pretty. There's some nice sentiments, and then these distinctive stamps, which are those ones that have different tones, lights and darks, all in one stamp, and it's just really soft and pretty looking when you've got that stamped image. So that's really pretty. And then the die set for this is really nice. There's some nice edgelets, and then 2 wreaths. This one is really big. It's like the size of an entire card front. So that's really pretty. And then you've got a smaller one that fits around a lot of the sentiments, actually. And then you've got kind of this one that you could use it to layer, or you can also stamp a sentiment on that. So you've got several, and then just an extra little branch that you can use as a layering piece. So the dies for this are really pretty. I particularly like the edgelet. And the paper is really, really pretty. And this is the one, the paper is limited time only. So there's a couple different things here. One is called cotton paper, and it's like tissue paper. It's cotton paper. It's got a shiny side and a rough side. And in the past we've had it and we've made paper flowers and things like that out of it. So I've been playing around with it to kind of find some ways to use the paper, the cotton paper. So we'll show that in a different video. And it comes in 2 colors. This is soft succulent, and then it comes in evening evergreen in the pack as well. So you get 10 sheets, 5 of evening evergreen and 5 of soft succulent. Okay, now the CraftsEden paper is very pretty, and this is limited time. It's a specialty paper, which means it has some foiling in it or some kind of specialness to it, and the specialness happens to be this gold foil. So it's very pretty, as you can see. This would work right now in the Christmas season, or you can bring it forward to spring. The backs are kind of all great background papers. The fronts have foil on them. So let me show you the different patterns. There's one. Here's another. Let me find the back to that one. I kind of got them messed up. Here's another. And the back to that. And again, these are evening evergreen and soft succulent. So you've got some really nice greens. Now these can go with anything, really. These greens will work nicely with Forever Fern, or pretty much any but floral that you have. And the greens are great for holiday. That's the back of this one. This is the only sheet I have of this one because I've used it up. So there's one, and there's the other. And there was another one that I used a lot of that I didn't show you the back of. That's this one. The back of that is kind of a splatter look. There we go. So you've got really beautiful paper. One of the stamps in here kind of looks like mistletoe. I thought I would do it hanging upside down and with a little bow. That looks like a mistletoe. But otherwise, you've got some really nice branches on here. And then another limited time only are the garden gems. And they have small little kind of petal-shaped gems, or it could be a teardrop or a raindrop. And then these just round. And they have kind of a soft succulent, but when you turn the light, it picks up some gold hues, some iridescent purples, kind of fresh freesia. This can kind of go with any of, can kind of play around with it and fit it with a lot of different things, just because you pick up different color based on what it's on. So those are really fun. And these are while supplies last also, starting on November 2nd. Okay, so let's get into the card. I was kind of playing around with the card idea, and I thought of a curtain and seeing the other side peeking through, and I really wanted to do that, and then I thought, well, maybe the curtain could be drawing back the sentiment. So that's what I've come up with for this one, and I'll be using this stamp set again and again. So this is just the first card. I really love this paper the most, and so I went with that, and I want to show you how to get this look. Okay. We're going to start with a 5.5 by 5.5 inch square. Okay, and then you're going to do some scoring. Hopefully the scoring is showing up. I think I've got the end on camera. Yes, I do. Okay, so we're going to score at 1 inch, and then you're going to move it 1/2 inch. So we're at 2.5. Or I'm sorry, 1.5, and then we're going to move it 1 inch. So we're moving inch, 1/2 inch, inch, 1/2 inch, inch, 1/2 inch, all the way down. So we were at 1.5. So now we need to do 2.5. So that was inch, 1/2 inch, inch, 1/2 inch. Now would make us at 3, and now we have to go 1 inch. So we're at 4. But now 1/2 inch, so we're at 4.5, and then that leaves us another full inch because we went inch, 1/2 inch, inch, 1/2 inch, inch, 1/2 inch, inch. And you could keep going if you wanted to make your curtain even bigger, but I wanted to stick at 5.5 by 5.5 inch sheet. Okay, so now you're going to fold along your scores, and we want the inch ones to be on the top and the 1/2 inch pieces to be behind. So I'm going to score my inch and then fold the 1/2 inch one behind. Fold my inch, and then that 1/2 inch one is going to be tucked behind. Okay. So we're seeing the fronts of all the 1 inch pieces, and the 1/2 inch ones are behind. Okay, and now we're going to open it back up. And the reason why I fold it first is just because in my head I don't want to accidentally cut the wrong way, the wrong direction, and have the the drapery going the wrong way. So I'm going to open it back up. I'm going to put it back in my trimmer, and you're going to cut on a diagonal. So we want to go all the way to the bottom here, but we want to make this shorter at the top. So we're going to put the bottom, the part we want to be the end of the curtain, the lowest part, right on this cut line, and then the part we're going to cut off, I'm going to bring it all the way to the 1.5 inch mark. This is a Stampin' Up paper trimmer. If you don't have a Stampin' Up paper trimmer, just remember you're cutting a 1/2 inch up and then diagonal to the corner, 1.5 inches. Like that. So then you've got this 1.5 inches all the way to the bottom, and then fold it back up, and then you've got this pretty pleat. Alright, now I wanted to make it look as if the ribbon was pulling back the curtain. See how I've got it kind of kicking in here, bending towards the ribbon. So paper doesn't really work the same as fabric, so I had to make a slit here. So I just grabbed my paper trimmers and I cut a slit the first inch. Now it did go through that 1/2 inch also. And then just turn it over, and you're going to fold. So I went through the whole inch, which made me then go through that 1/2 inch on this side. So if you were to open it up, you're going in at 2 inches, but we're closed. We did it 1 inch, so we've got the full 1 inch here, and we went through that 1/2 inch one that was underneath it. So you're only cutting 1 inch, but because it's pleated, it's longer, right? Okay, so we're going to turn it over, and you're going to fold, and you're going to fold it so that you go to the end of that slit that you just cut, and it's making a little triangle here. So we're just going to fold to that cut. And then if you want to take a bone folder or something to kind of help lay it flat, because you've got a few layers underneath this side. Okay, so you've got this little curtain being drawn back by the fabric that we're going to put in, or you know, little, normally there's like a little, if you have curtains like this, a little tie back. So we're going to make a tie back with some ribbon. Okay, so that is the mechanism for our curtain. And then let's make the rest of the card. So I'm going to use a background piece. This is that splatter from the same designer series paper, and we're going to do this at 4 and 5 1/4. I've got a card base in Evening Evergreen. So let's go ahead and put those together. There's no stamping going on this background, so I'm going to go ahead and lay it right down. I have another piece of basic white for the inside, but we are going to stamp on that, so I'm not going to lay that right down. But I want to show you how best to put this down. Now, if you can see on my sample, I wanted the bottom of the curtain to look free-flowing because I wanted it to resemble a fabric curtain, but then I want the top to be stuck down. That's because normally your drapes are stuck up there, right, with some kind of a holder. So we're going to go ahead and grab some ribbon. Now, there's a couple choices of Evening Evergreen in the catalog, and I am going with this one, which is kind of a sheer, I think they're calling it open weave ribbon. And I'm going to cut myself enough to go around and tie a little bow. I think that's good. Okay, so I've got my ribbon tie, and then flip it over, and now we're going to stick it down, and to make it stay nice and secure, I'm going to use tear tape, and I'm going to go all the way across on top of the pleats on the top, because those we do want to stick down to our base. And then I'm going to go down the side on the edge of the card, but I'm going to leave this kind of free flowing. I do need this to stay down, and it's bulky here, so we want it to stick to the card. So go ahead and stick that down. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and lay that down in the corner here. There we go. And now I'm going to do the sentiments. So I'm going to show you some of the dies I used for that. I want to show you this punch. It's called the oval, and it's got a layering component to it, which I really like. So you've got a scalloped bit. I'm going to use that for the background, so I need that one in Evening Evergreen. I think this is big enough. Yes. For the Sending Hugs. Now this is one of those distinctive stamps, and so I'm going to show you some tricks for how to use that when we stamp the inside. But this sentiment can just go right down. And it fits in here really nicely. Okay. Now I wanted to dress this up a little bit. You don't have to. So let's say you were purchasing the stamp set and you don't have a die cut machine. You could leave it just like this and it's super pretty. but I wanted to step it up just a little bit with some dies. So if you can get the dies, here's some ways that you can use those on this card. I thought about using this as a tie back. You know, kind of imagine cutting this out and then folding it in half as if that was kind of a curtain tie back. I thought about that. That's kind of a fun idea. But I thought about it after I'd already made that one. So I'm going to cut out these, but I'm going to just use the tops from this. So that's kind of a fun way that you can use it. You can try to think of other ways to use the dies besides what they're intended. And I only need the top, so rather than cut out the entire thing, I am just going to give myself a couple little pieces here. And then I'm going to cut this one out in some gold foil. Okay, so I've got my cutouts, and all I'm going to do is glue them to the back. So I want one kind of at the top and one at the bottom. And then I wanted a little bit of gold shine, and I was going to use this, but this is really taller than I need. So what I actually did here is I cut this one as well. And I used the larger piece at the top. And then since I had it, I went ahead and used the smaller piece too. Rather than have all that gold hiding behind there, I might as well use that, right? And stick it down here. And then this nice little grouping is going to go down with some dimensionals. There. Okay, now I want to show you a little bit about stamping with the distinctive stamps. So what I mean by distinctive is they have these small little bits of highlights and lowlights in the tone of the stamp. So you can even see layers, like you can see this leaf is layered on top of that leaf, and see where it's layered, where they overlap, it's darker. And this is achieved by tiny little bits of, like the rubber has just, instead of being smooth rubber, it has tiny little, it's like little tiny dots that make up the image. And so you've got just amazingly little tiny dots in here. And so let me do some stamping with that. I want to show you a little bit about what I mean. Let me find a scrap paper. So I have a very juicy, soft succulent. And because of that, if I were to stamp with that, it's just going to pool on the top of this, and it's not going to show all those little tiny details because I kind of recently inked this up. It's extremely juicy. So see, it's like you can even see the ink on there. So I'm not getting a super smooth image. You can see the parts that have where the ink sat on top. So after a while, because I just inked this, that's why that happened. So after a while, as I'm using it and using it, that ink is going to settle in, and then I'm going to not have to do anything special at all with my distinctive stamp. So if you have a stamp pad that's not quite so juicy, you can get a nice image that way. Or if you really want to use the soft succulent like I did, is this? Make sure I'm using the right sponge. Okay, what you can do is sponge on the color while you're waiting, and that also is going to help push that ink down into there too. So if you have a new ink pad that's super juicy, this is a way to use it right away. So I'm getting more of the image. I don't think I cleaned in between. Now I'm getting a softer image. I'm getting highlights and lowlights and things like that. So when your distinctive stamp is new, kind of think about how juicy your ink pad is when you're using it. Okay, now I did my little bit of floral on the inside just to have something besides just the sentiment on the inside. And I really like this sentiment. It says, "My heart is tied to yours. Tug if you need anything." And I have a good friend who recently lost their father, so this would be perfect for her. Okay, and that's just going to go on the inside. All right, so that's my first card with the Eden's Garden stamp set and dies. I hope you like it. I hope you like this little curtain technique. You can imagine that could be done with any paper and have fun little sentiments that are being shown when you draw back the curtain. You can even do some kind of little children's magic show type look with some black and red lining. I don't know. Could be fun. Think about how to use that technique and take a look for sure at the paper, because that is limited time. This is going to be limited time only while supplies last, as is the cotton paper and the really beautiful gems. So take a look at those. Those are available starting tomorrow, November 2nd. And then while supplies last, and then the Eden's Garden bundle is going to be it's available now, but it's also going to be available in the Spring Mini starting in January. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you liked this week. Please subscribe and think about coming back again. Bye.